Hey, Happy New Year, everyone. I am here to share with you my top 10 decks of 2024. I love watching all the videos to see what everybody's been working with throughout the year. And I've gone ahead and picked out not just my favorite decks, it's not all about my favorite decks, but really the decks I've worked with the most this year. And that is mostly based on the readings I do for my clients. I use a lot of different decks, a lot more than I'll be able to show you today, but these are the top 10s, the ones I've used the most, and the ones that always give me great readings. So I hope you enjoy. Make sure you share your top 10 decks in the comments because I'd love to hear. All right. Thank you for watching. Have a great new year. Hi, everyone. Time for the top 10 of 2024. But before I go in to my final picks, I had to at least display the runners-up. These are the decks that almost made it in, that were in, that got taken out, that got put back in, that got taken out again. You get the drift. I had to take this one out of the box. This is the Tarot of Echoes. This is on a lot of top 10 lists this year. And in and out, especially these two. I use them a lot this year. They're gorgeous. I love them. But, and even now, as I'm looking at them, I'm like, no, this should be the top 10. Press stop and start all over. But, nope. We're going to leave these as runner-ups. I also have this last one here, which is a great black and white deck that I used a ton, and it reads so beautifully. And it's called the Nightfall Tarot. I trimmed this one, but it's so beautiful, and I wrote on it with silver marker. And I just really love this deck. And again, I'm sitting here thinking, this should be in the top 10. But no, I really thought it out very carefully, and allow me to share with you the decks, the top 10 decks for 2024. These are not just decks that I loved the most. These are also taking into account how often I read with them, so their readability. So I do use many different decks when I do readings. And it can change every time, even for the same client. It could be a different deck each time. So, without further ado, deck number 10 is the Tarot of Mystical Moments. I've had this deck for a long time, but this year it really got a lot of use. I wasn't interested in it, and then all of a sudden, I couldn't get enough of it. So it came out, and it was well used. It gave me some great readings. It is not a new deck. It has adequate little white book, but the imagery speaks to me intuitively so well. It works with any kind of reading, but when I have customers that are looking for message from spirit guides or life purpose, even relationship readings, but mostly spiritual message type readings, this deck really sings that song for me. I can interpret it very well as words of wisdom from the spirit. And that's typically what I use it for. And it just reads beautifully. And a lot of times when I'm drawn to use this deck, I find that there's some symbol like that will just stand out that's specific to this deck. Like I might get this card and that rose. Something about that rose is standing out, and I have to mention it to the client, and they might message me back saying that, oh, this was their favorite flower, or just something is always popping out in this deck. The birds, it could be anything. The globes, actually, this real life, okay, this woman's dress is a globe, and she wanted to have, this was a reading, not a past life reading, but a reading where she wanted to get a message from her ancestors. And the globe was, one of her ancestors was a teacher. And so the client actually came back after I kept saying, there's something about this card. It's more than, and she's like, my grandmother was a teacher and she was forced to give up her job because, to raise children and blah, blah, blah. So it really, like, it just spoke really beautifully. So that's why this deck, even though it's not new to 2024, that's why this deck is in the top 10. Love it. Beautiful, well made. I use it a lot. It keeps the gilding and edging, does good. It shuffles good enough. Luckily, I have big hands because these are big cards. And my only little gripe is I hate shiny cards. I hate cards that are plasticky. I like the feel of papery kind of feel. But that being said, it's never a game changer for me. Cardstock, as long as it's well made, and it doesn't matter in the long run to me. A lot of people have a strong preferences, but not myself. So this is a great mass market deck, and it's gotten a lot of use. So that's number 10. Number 9 and number 8, I'm going to show you together because they're from the same artist. This deck has been in my collection for at least 20 years. It's one of the first few decks I bought. It could be even longer than 20 years now. This deck I got just this past summer, and it's been that long since this woman has done a new deck. And the woman I'm talking about is Ma Diva Padma, creator of the Osho Zen Tarot and Tao Oracle, which I have both of those. The Osho Zen is in my top 10 list. It's a deck I've been using for 20 years very consistently, and it just reads beautifully for me. I love the artwork. I love the colors. Some people find the swords suit in this deck too harsh. I do not. I think it's very apropos. I love it. Beautiful. Now, this is not overly, it's a pretty standard size deck. It's a little square. I trimmed mine to be more rectangular, and therefore they are pretty small. But this works for me. I labeled the kings, the court cards, and the aces because I find these little symbols on the bottom confusing. So I just put KA for King of Air. Page of Air. You can see how, you see all the smoke, fog, brain fog. I mean, there's like, this person is in a brain fog. I often attribute this card to maybe some kind of addiction that the person, or a medication that is making the person a little incoherent or slow. Just a really fantastic deck. And like I said, I love the artwork. However, a lot of people feel that this is the Queen of Swords, kind of a bit much. I love the Strength card. It's called Courage, but it's beautiful. I just love it. Anyway, this has a great little book that it comes with. You can still get this set. It's still widely available. The guidebook is really great. They do have a card, extra card, which I do not use. I think it's called the Master. I got rid of it. I don't even have it anymore. Here it is, the Master. I don't have it. I must have thrown it away. I don't know what I did with it, but it just didn't fit for me. But she has a lot of great information about the Masters and her interpretation and use of symbols. So it's really a great book. It's a strange size. I wish the book were just a regular size book that I could just, fit on my shelf instead of these long, skinny ones. She did the same thing with this book. That goes with the second deck, so I will open this one up. So this came out, I was at Omega Institute this summer doing a workshop with Mary Greer, her annual workshop at Omega, Tarot Masters. And this was in the Omega gift shop. I bought the little bag there too to go with it. Here are the backs. It's called the Sacred She Tarot. Again, a beautiful guidebook, very similar to the way she wrote the Osho Zen. No colored pictures, but enough detail to understand where she's coming from with a lot of it. It's not as, the sword suit is not as strong as it is in the other deck. One thing about this is she does not have suit symbolism. Instead, they're color-coded. So this is blue, it's cups. This is green, that is the pentacles, or earth. This is kind of like a orangey red, it's competition. This is wands. And the gray is the swords, okay, or air. The other thing very unique to this deck is the court card situation. She does not label the court cards. She instead, here's a good example, continues with the numbers and has a key word. So for instance, intuition, 13 would be the queen, right? So 11 would be page, 12 would be knights, 13 is queen, and 14 would be a king of this suit of cups, right? So intuition is the key word. What I really like about this, some people might not like this. I totally get why. It's very non-traditional. But what this allows for me is the freedom to interpret this as a pip card or a court card, however I feel drawn to, or depending on the type of question. So if you're asking a question, who will help me, or something like that, or as opposed to, I don't know, what's my life purpose, and a court card comes up, it's sometimes hard to answer the question with a court card, and many readers would even pull an extra card. This allows me to delve into a different side of the meaning of the card. So that's, I kind of like that, I get that. But it's really beautiful. Again, these colors I love. I don't know if she paints these or it's all digital art. It's really hard to tell, but she does sell paintings. So I know the art is original, but she might put it together digitally. I really don't know. I just know I love it. I love this one, Four of Cups. I love it. Beautiful. I love the world. I love this world card. Solitude, that's the Hermit. Love it. Beautiful. All right, so this is 8 and 7. I can't tell which is which. I love this deck. I can't believe I haven't seen more of it out there on Tarot Tube, although I do confess I haven't watched a lot of Tarot Tube this year. And you've probably noticed I'm kind of behind on videos myself, but there it is. I've used it a lot. It's very empowering. I love using it for women that are just feeling a little helpless or insecure. It's a great, gives a great positive message or vibe to it. So this again is probably 8 or 7. They're kind of together. Next up, I have a Kickstarter deck, the Amber Tarot. This is really just a straight up Rider-Waite-Smith based deck. It has this little white book with very minimal meanings in it, but it came as a Kickstarter set, and what I bought additionally was a book of spreads, which is the best book of spreads I've ever bought. But what I love about this, and it's not the most beautiful deck I've had. I would say that the print job itself is good, but the cardstock is kind of cheap. The backs are nice, but I don't feel like the image is centered well on the card. I feel like I've had this since, I think, March I got it. And it might be hard to tell, but you can see the edges are kind of wearing out already. So that's, yeah, you can see little nicks here. So it's not a great cardstock. And it's a shame because this photography is amazing. It blew my mind, and that's why this is in the top 10. Not only because that book of spreads, which I use for clients, I asked them for permission and they were thrilled that I would use it for clients. It's that with very few exceptions, the entire image was photographed as is. No Photoshop, no extra coloring, no adding details with Photoshop, nothing. The costuming, the lighting, everything, the clouds, the fogs, that's all done by the creators of this deck. That is no easy task. It must have cost a fortune and time and dedication. Just amazing. They did such a fantastic job, and it reads really well. I mean, it's a Rider-Waite deck, okay? It really, there's nothing special about that. They stuck to it. So you can see, like I said, very few exceptions. Here they put this in the top. You can tell that was added. And I know that similar for the World card, the wreath and the four corners, you have the four apostles or the four zodiac signs. They were also added in. But other than that, the whole scene is just a photograph. Like here, they probably added the stars. Look at the hangman. This man was actually hanging. They show the video. Unbelievable. So these folks, this is called the Amber Tarot. I know they currently have a Kickstarter for another edition of this. I hope it's on better cardstock. They offered a discount to, imagine doing this with the dogs. They offered a discount for the new version to people that already bought it, but I did not choose to buy another one. But it is fantastic. It was worth every penny. I paid a lot because it's shipped from Australia. But this I use a lot. It gives me great readings, and I really appreciate all the work that went into creating all these scenes. So that is the Amber Tarot. And the book that I purchased additionally is out of this world. Good. Highly recommend. All right. Next, the Ink Witch Tarot Deck by Eric Mal. This I got because I was so in love with his Oracle deck. Let me grab that. I got his Oracle deck on Kickstarter, and I was using it one day on a reading. The Oracle deck is gorgeous. I love it. I use it a lot. It has a great PDF guidebook. Anyway, I was remember thinking, like, in his Kickstarter, he said the box will be a little large, but that's so if I decide to make extra cards, they'll fit in the box. And I was using the deck, and I'd be like, oh, I wish he'd make some extra cards. He still has not. But checking his website, because I was so wanting some more art for the Oracle deck, I ended up buying his tarot deck. And wow, I really was so surprised at how much I really enjoy reading with this deck, how well it speaks to me. It seems like there's not a lot going on, but there really is. And these little things just pop out for me every time I use it for a reading. There are some optional cards that you can substitute. I've chosen the ones I like. I forget if they were an extra cost. I don't remember. I love this extra card, the Witch. I leave it in there and use it in readings. There's another one, Witch card, this one, that I also leave in there. This is just a great deck. I use it very often. It's serves me well. It speaks to me easily. And it's beautiful. I love this man's artwork. I wish he would make more cards for this Oracle deck content, but not as of yet. I know he's working on a different kind of Oracle deck, which I may or may not buy. I think there's a Kickstarter. I'm not sure. But again, I just really love his tarot card. It comes with a PDF guidebook that is exceptional. This guy knows his stuff. He writes very well. He's as good an artist as he is a writer. So highly recommend. This is the Ink Witch Tarot. I have the second version, and he has a website, and I think it's ericmail.com, if I'm not mistaken. Hold on. So that is number 7. I think this is beautiful. I just don't use it as much as some of the others. This was a limited Kickstarter, second edition. But ericmail.com is the website, and I think that's where I got it from, through the website. All right. This deck is gorgeous. Are you ready? It was very expensive because it was make playing cards, and it, as you know, you get just a deck of cards, and if you only order one, you pay a lot for it. So this is Manzels Tarot on make playing cards. I have the website up just in case. All right, so on make playing cards, it's called Manzels Tarot Original, because I don't want you to get confused with his Kickstarter that recently ended, which is the Tarot by Manzel Bowman. So he has a second deck that he just did through Kickstarter that I have also ordered that is more of a Rider-Waite-Smith clone. That will be coming hopefully sometime soon. This was an earlier one, which is so stunning. It's holographic. I don't know if you can kind of catch that here in the video, but the conceptually and visually, it's a beautiful deck. I would have loved a bigger image, but this is fine. It's a very standard size deck. It is Afro-American themed. Not Afro-American, I take that back. It's African themed. Let me see what he says in his website for this. It's the culmination of African-themed works by Manzel Bowman and the original allegorical motifs of the late 15th century deck. This full 78-card gold gilded, not gold gilded, is printed on GSM linen cardstock with a matte lamination, giving them the highest quality finish. So it is, on make playing cards, it is the holographic. This is not gilded, I don't know. It did come with the box. I wrote the name on the box. There was absolutely nothing written on the box. And this is another deck that reads so beautifully. I love his interpretation of the cards. His representation is just spot on. Look at Justice. It's just gorgeous. There is no book that I know of. I know on his website or his blog, he often goes into, if you follow him on Facebook or his blog or even Instagram, he talks about the imagery, which is really nice, but there's no book that goes with this, nothing. Look at the star, how beautiful. But this deck, I really don't need it. It reads so beautifully. I would have loved, though, to learn more about the symbolism and his thoughts behind it. But that being said, this is number 6. Nope, 5. Gorgeous. I don't use it as much, but when I do, it's just so beautiful. I could not leave it out. And this bag by Moonlight Fae, it's just perfect for it. All right. The next one is a deck that has also been in my collection probably around 20 years. Let's see when this was published. I got it right after it was, as soon as it came out. There's no year on this. Well, maybe on the little white book. Anyway, it's a Tarot of Sweet Twilight. It's a Los Scarabeo deck. The artist or creator, I'm not sure if it's an artist or designer, is Christina Benentende. And when I first bought this deck, I used it quite a bit. And then it kind of went on the back burner for many years. And then I would say the past couple of years, I've pulled it out because this kind of otherworldly imagery works really well for me, because sometimes I feel like I'm from another world, to be honest. Let me see what year this came out, and if there is a different artist. They don't say. Oh, Instructions by Barbara Moore. That's the book. Art, edited by Pietro Aligo, Diffusion Marketing. I don't know who the artist is. It said it's edited by Pietro Aligo, but it's very confusing here. But let's talk just more about this imagery and how dreamlike it is. It's great for dream interpretations. It's a great tool to use when working with guides, because they can speak this language. It just really works well for all kinds of readings, even relationship readings, believe it or not. I've used this deck for, and it just speaks volumes. So this is a deck that for at least the past 2 years has made a comeback with me. And it's just, I can't see not having this deck in my collection. It's just such a great reading deck. It's just beautiful. That is the Tarot of the Sweet Twilight. All right, so now we're getting to the last three. So this was deck number 4. Deck number 3 is gorgeous and amazing to read with. And it's called the Exile Tarot. And I got this through, let me check that out. Okay. It's the Vermilion shop. That's where I bought it through, the shop I bought it through. It is a gorgeous deck. So I wouldn't normally be drawn to this kind of artwork. I like things more vibrant colors as well. But this imagery, again, it's otherworldly. And that's what really draws me to these kinds of decks. There's so much intuitively to pick up on in these decks, other than just the meaning of the 10 of Cups, that often add so much depth and clarify the meaning that's trying to come through at that time, that this deck just works beautifully for me. It's not too busy, but it has so many little details that really just can come out and really just take over and deliver the message. I look at this 10 of Wands. He's got a little bucket of water. They're spilling all the water and they're trying to put out a forest fire. It's about being overwhelmed. Yet they're still going out there and they're still going to do it. They're going to make the difference that they can make. So this deck has 2 versions. I brought out the other version to show you because the images can be a little different. And if you're interested in seeing a side-by-side of the 2 versions, I'd be happy to do another video, or any deck that I'm showing. If you would like to see a flip through or a little review about what I love about it, feel free to say something in the comments. I'd be happy to do that. So let me just show you. You can see right away that the dark version, which is called Silent, the light version is called Awaken. It's still beautiful, but it's got a darkness to it. And a lot of the cards are kind of the same, but are slightly different. And you'll notice in the darker version, there's no face. And that's mostly why I tend to use the other version. I like faces. I don't like when there's no face in the artwork or it's covered up. I just feel like I'm missing something, because facial expressions tell a lot. But this is, you can see the coloring is just a little darker. But again, if you want to see a side-by-side, I'd be happy to do one. But these are beautiful, beautiful cards. This artist also did another deck that I have. It's a different theme, but it's just as beautiful. And the book is enough. It's really small print. It has a little colored picture, and it has the silent meaning and the awakened meaning. So both of the little white books for both decks are the same. And it just gives you some keywords and a bit of a message. The vision, the message, and the keywords. It's really well done. And it wasn't super expensive. How? $55. I think if you buy both together, which I did, I think it was like $100 plus shipping. All right, the top two. This was really hard because this one, number 9, the Fflorescent Tarot, I literally just got late November or early December through a Kickstarter for the Little Monster Tarot. It has this very, I don't want to say cheap, but flimsy booklet. However, there is some really great information. So this is plant-based. There's a lot of plants in this deck that she references in the little white book. She even has a section about the plants that appear in some of the cards and what they mean. So a little index of flowers. So that's really helpful. But it doesn't look and feel like just a plant deck, which I love. Now, the facial expressions can be rather moody. And you can see like the long fingers and all that. I'm really digging it. And the colors are really speaking out to me. I've only been working with this. I've done maybe 3 or 4 readings with it for clients. It's all been phenomenal. I love the interpretations of the cards that I'm getting. I love the way the images are reinterpreted here. And I love everything about this deck. I wish. So it has beautiful gilding, which I hate to lose, but I wish they didn't have this white border. I wish it were just this. It would be so much easier to handle. It would make the image pop out more. But they chose to make these so big. That's my only gripe. I don't like this white border at all. And I go back and forth about maybe possibly trimming this, but the thought of losing the beautiful gilding is what might be stopping me. I will never sell this or trade this. This will definitely be a keep forever deck, but I would really love it if it were smaller, and I think it would be more beautiful without the white trim. I wish, if I had known how much I would have loved this and how much I would not love the trim, I probably would have bought 2 decks, just have one in the original state and one trimmed. But this deck is still really new, and yet it made it to number 9. So you know next year it's probably going to be way up there. I plan on using this a lot. The final deck you've seen on other people's, I'm sure, is the Old Style Tarot. It has its own bag, a little tie-dye bag that I keep the book and the deck in. I think the book is really well written. I've read some of the meanings that they have for the card. They give cards advice, the reversed meaning, the upright meaning, a quick answer, yes or no. They give a warning. So it's really great. It's not too in depth, but it's enough. And the cards, again, I love to have more color, but these are meant to be old looking, obviously. And they're very Rider-Waite-Smith, but with a little more that your intuition can pick up on. And that's what I love. Like this plant would, like, typically something would happen, like I'll get the Hermit, and the Hermit will mean something in the reading, and then I'll pick up on this plant, and there'll be something inside me saying something about that plant, and he's holding it in his hand, and I'll say something to the client if it's, you know, live or in the recording. They'll come back and they'll say, oh, you know, I've always wanted to be a gardener, and deep down inside, that's what I feel like drawn to. That's when I feel alive, is when I'm watching New Life. You know, it's just always something in this deck that is in the card that I can pick up on and find that special message for my client. And also, when that happens, it's just an extra sign to them that, you know, that their guides are a part of this reading, that this reading really is real, and for them, it's like a confirmation as well. But this deck is a fantastic reading deck, and I'll tell you a little story. I mentioned before that I went to the Omega Institute Tarot with the Masters with Mary Greer. She does it every year at Omega. And during it, I was actually partnered with Mary. We did a reading exchange, and I used this deck, and she loved this deck. And I'm not sure if she got it, but she wrote down the name, and she said she was going to get it. I bet you she did. But I mean, and I agree with her. But it's an amazingly well done deck, and I love the art, and I just love the way it reads. Look-wise, it's not my most beautiful deck, but it's just works like magic. It's a great deck. So that is it for 2024. Those are my top 10 and runner-up tarot decks. Thank you so much for stopping by. I'm gonna probably do an oracle deck for the year, just to show you some of the oracle decks I use with these tarot cards, because I do use a lot of oracle decks. Hint, this could be one of them, but we'll see if I have time to do that today. It's New Year's Eve. I hope you all have a happy New Year and safe New Year, and I will see you next time.